I want to start off by saying we have a very comprehensive program here at OU on education and monitoring enforcement of the NCAA rules and the conference rules. And we review all such matters. And because the review is in process, it's not appropriate for me to respond with anything that's ongoing with the review right now. I do look forward to a point in time when I can talk to you in detail about the review. Right now is not that time. So just like I have to respect the process, I would ask that you guys do that as well. In saying that, I'm really excited to announce the signing of Tyler Neal today. We got his letter of intent back. He had a ceremony over at the school earlier this morning, and really excited about him. I think he's going to be a good player for us. Had a really good senior year, state player of the year here in Oklahoma, and I think he has a big upside. The kid just turned 17 years old, and I think he has a chance to be a really, really good player for us. He fits what we need in this program, hard-working guys that have talent, but also guys with high character. And we look forward to working with him. So I'll open up the questions now, and again, I'll answer everything that I possibly can.
How did this happen, Jeff?
What would you say to the fans that say, what has happened to Oklahoma basketball? All these guys are leaving, the assistant coaches left.
Well,
what is your message of hope if there is?
Well, there is hope. There absolutely is hope. You know, I'm excited about where we're going forward, too. Sometimes in order to get better, sometimes you have to cleanse. Sometimes you have to, lose some things. Sometimes things have to fall apart in order for them to fall back together. And so, with some of the guys that we've had that have left, I'm not really surprised. It's something that's going on around the country, not just here in our program. I know it's probably, and certainly I'm speaking to our fans right now, it's a little bit maybe different for our program when you have so many guys that are leaving at one point. But the guys that we have that are coming back, they're working, and I'm excited about them. There's a difference already right now in how we've worked and how guys have approached things than we had at any time last season, in the summer, in the spring of last year. And so I'm excited about that. The guys that we have coming in, the guys that have signed with our program, the 3 guys that we have that are signed, they're very committed to that and understanding of what they have to do and what needs to be done in order to win next year. And then the guys that we are recruiting, that we hope to sign here, they have an understanding of that. So, for a lot of people it may look doom and gloom, but for me it's exciting, and it's certainly a challenge, but it's something that I think we're all up for.
Do you have any idea when you recruited some of these players there be problems?
Depends on your definition of what a problem is. Certainly when I recruited Tommy Mason Griffin, I thought we'd have him for more than 1 year. I didn't think that he would be a one-year guy. I thought he'd be a guy, I thought he'd be like my Sharon Collins, a guy that'd be here at least 3 years, 4 years maybe. But it just didn't work out like that. And so, again, nothing really surprises me much in the world of college basketball anymore.
Jeff, as you signed 2 in the early signing period, you got Tyler today. As they started hearing about certain things within the program, did they remain totally strong and committed?
Those guys remain committed, strong, didn't waver one bit, because like I tell those guys and tell all the kids that we recruit, believe me. Don't believe stuff you hear. Don't believe stuff other coaches tell you. Don't believe other stuff you read, whether it's on a message board in a newspaper. Believe me, because I'm always the best source for the truth, and I will always shoot you straight with what's going on. And so there was never, at least in my conversations with them or their family, there was never any wavering. It was, okay, Coach, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? T.J. Taylor, Coach, what do I have to do to be able to help us at the point? Cameron Clark, what do I have to do, Coach, in order to be able to have more of an impact right away? Those are the kind of things I got from those guys, never any wavering. Not sure. I'm not sure what he's going to do as far as if he's going to enter the NBA draft or if he's going to decide to come back to school. I'm not really sure.
That preseason or the workouts that are going on right now that you said is better than at any point last season, is Tiny a part of that?
Tiny has a high ankle sprain, so he hasn't been able to participate in any of that stuff.
How many scholarships do you have right now, Jeff?
6, I think. No, we won't fill them all.
Is that because you don't want to kind of mortgage the future just to get bodies right now?
No, we don't. That's a pretty accurate statement. We want to get guys that we think fit with what our needs are right now. I don't think, since I've been a head coach, I don't think I've ever had 13 scholarship players. I don't think I've ever used a full allotment of scholarships. And so that's not something we're going to look to just go out and sign 6 guys right now. And I think it's 6. It may be less.
I mean, your roster's not very big right now.
We have enough. We'll get enough. We'll get the guys we're supposed to get. I've always felt that way about recruiting.
Did you agree with Willie's decision to go?
Sure. It's what he wanted to do. It's not my job to tell a guy to come back to school. These guys all have opportunities. And one of the greatest things I think all of us have been given is the opportunity to choose. And it's a decision that he made. I support him 100%. I think he's ready, and I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be a good NBA player. Things didn't work out for him this year. He had some injuries. I think there was a lot of pressure on him, and I think it really all came to a head the third game at VCU. There was a moment in that game in the second half when they took a bigger lead than it was, and the place was going crazy. We called a timeout, and there was a look in his face, kind of like, "Coach, what do I do?" He didn't say it, but that's just kind of what I felt like the look said. And he had the injury. He really only played 4 conference games, where he was healthy. After the Texas A&M game down there in College Station, he was never healthy the rest of the year, which is pretty evident by when the season was over. Well, even before the season, he had surgery on his ankle. And so, I agree with the decision because it's something he wanted to do.
When you talked last year, you seen Fresser this past season. You said, I've done the worst job I've done, wasn't able to push the right buttons, whatever. So are you telling us that your team has gotten better addition by subtraction, that you needed to clean these guys?
I'm not telling you that. You guys can take it however you want it. I'm just saying that there's been a different way that we've worked. I mean, look, these guys that are coming back are embarrassed. They didn't come to Oklahoma to be 13 and 18. None of us did. And it's something that happened. I mean, again, I know we're just talking about us right now, and for me, it's very personal. But there were a lot of teams in the country this year, several teams that struggled. And I don't think maybe I didn't appreciate how young we were going to be. Maybe I didn't appreciate not just the youth, but the immaturity. If you look at our team this year and you look at some of our games, I can think of off the top of my head, and I think I'm right on this. I may not be completely accurate, but there were at least 6 conference games where we led in the second half, led with under 10 minutes to go, and we would go through stretches where, it just kind of started happening again. And all of a sudden, if we make a couple of shots, if we get a couple stops, then maybe there's a difference. 2 years ago, we were able to win those games. At West Virginia, we were able to make some shots. And, that year we had a 4-point play here. We made a shot, from right inside of half court at Texas Tech. I mean, there's a fine line between winning and losing. And there were several games this year, again, where we were right there. I mean, down at A&M, if we get one stop, with 32 seconds left, or if we can, make a shot after that where we got 2 opportunities with 2 guys, and all of a sudden it may be a little bit different season. It just didn't work that way for us. And, have we gotten better? I don't know if we've gotten better. I've been doing individual workouts with our guys, but until we get our whole team, I'm not really sure. But I do like the way our guys are working. I like the sense of urgency that they have. And I like the fact that they're embarrassed. And I like the fact that they want to do something about it and understand that a lot of things have to change. Attitudes have to change. Commitment to work has to change. Those things have to change.
Jeff, is it a bad like to see that change?
You know, I think it's a bad rule. I do. I think what it does, to be completely honest with you, is I think it really makes a joke out of education, out of the educational system. Because the reality of it is, if you have a kid that's coming into college that's set, I mean, in his mind, he is absolutely set on being a one-and-done guy. You know, unless your university or athletic department has an attendance policy, all he really has to do is sign up for class the second semester. And so I do think it's a bad rule. I would like to see it change. Will it change? I don't know. I know the collective bargaining agreement is coming up in after the next NBA season, and that's something that could change.
It seems like a lot of people agree with you that I've heard, and you lose so many players. How would you go about trying to change that? I mean, how can you lobby as a college basketball coach to get that fixed?
Well, again, one of the things is that, unless the NCAA makes the rule, like I think, actually it would be the NBA. It's the NBA Players Association, just like it is in football. It's the NFL's rule. It's not college football's rule. It's the NFL's rule, just like it is with Major League Baseball. It's their rule. One of the things that's interesting when you talk about it from the NBA standpoint, and this is why I think it's going to be an interesting decision in a couple of years, because the people that are kind of at the forefront of the players union now are maybe guys that benefited from not going to college. And so that's what's going to be interesting. I actually think the guys should have an opportunity to go straight from high school if they want. But I think if they come to college, I think it should be at the minimum 2 years. I think they should have to be in school for 2 years.
Jeff, of all the underclassmen that left, would all of them been able to come back with a scholarship next year?
Yeah. Yes. The report was erroneous that Willie was told that he didn't have a scholarship if he came back. I don't know what source that gentleman got that from, but it certainly wasn't me. Willie always had my full support. Doesn't mean that we agreed all the time. And I love the kid. I'm glad the kid chose the University of Oklahoma. And, again, I wish him well. He's been in our gym working out, and we've been working him out and trying to get him prepared for what's upcoming. But, yes, all the guys would have been eligible to come back.
Do you have a timetable set up to talk with Tiny about his decision?
Well, we're in the process of gathering information for him right now. I'm in the process of doing that. Now, I think they have until April 25th to decide, and then May 8th to decide to pull their name out. So if the 25th is the exact date, I think we have a week until that time.
If Gallen leaves, who's your center, and right now, who's your point guard?
Well, we don't have one right now. We don't have one of either right now, but it's something we're working on in recruiting.
Has it been difficult? You see a lot of negative recruiting being fired out at you?
You always see negative recruiting. That's the nature of our profession. Some places, some schools choose to do that. Recruiting is always a very difficult thing. It's not an exact science. And certainly there have been some issues that have come up that have caused a little bit more distractions here recently. But again, we're on the right guys. Hopefully we can get some good news here soon.
Jeff, are you saying the only decision about Tiny Gallen right now has to do with his desire to go pro or not, has nothing to do with this investigation?
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Jeff, does the events of the last year cause you to rethink the recruiting philosophy?
No. It does not. We want to continue to try to get the best guys that fit. When we signed, every kid that we've signed here, since I've been a head coach here at OU and also when I was at VCU, at the time when we signed them, we thought they would be a good fit. Doesn't mean that it always works out. And, again, that goes on around the country. Our philosophy is not going to change. We're going to continue to try to get guys that we think fit certain needs and we think that fit the core values of our program. Again, have we made mistakes? Absolutely. We have made some mistakes. But, again, it's something we're going to continue to fight and continue to get after and recruit the right guys here.
Do you feel like the criteria you might use to find guys who fit, is that ever changing? Is it still the same?
Well, it's constantly changing because your team changes every year. The climate of college basketball changes every year. Our sport is very trendy. And I think that's the nature of sports, in general. If you look at the Final Four this year, especially the national championship game, obviously, with what Butler was able to accomplish, they don't have any one-and-done guys, and they got a guy that's a two-and-done guy. That's the nature of when you're good, man. That's just what happens. When we recruited Blake Griffin, I don't think any of you guys sitting in here thought Blake would be a one-and-done guy. He absolutely could have been a one-and-done guy. He would have been a top 5 pick. It's just the nature of what happens. I mean, a kid goes to school, and all of a sudden, he starts to play and perform, and especially if he does it in certain games. It's just the nature of the way it is. And that's not going to change. I mean, unless they change that rule, that's not going to change. One of the things that's going on right now, I think why you're seeing so many guys declaring for the NBA draft, look, there are a lot of outside forces that get inside these kids' heads too that influence this thing. And one of the big things that's going on right now is that I think people are telling some of these kids that there may be a lockout in 2 years. And so you better go now. You better try and make it right now, because if you wait for another year, then you could possibly go into a draft where there's a lockout. And if there's a lockout, those guys don't start getting money if they make a team or get drafted until the season starts. And so there are a lot of things that go into those decisions. And for us, we're going to continue to recruit. We're going to continue to recruit, like I said, guys that we think can be really good players and come in here and fit what we want. The thing that we do want, though, is that we want guys that have 2 feet in. We don't want a guy that, doesn't have still has one bag packed and is still looking to get out. With Blake, I use him. Blake was a guy, and Willie was a guy. He was like that. Willie was a guy that didn't come in here, hey, I'm a one-and-done guy. I only want to be in school for 1 year. Did both of those guys have opportunities? Absolutely. They both chose to come back.
The due diligence you practice to find out if they have both feet in or 1 foot out, do you feel like it was as exhaustive as it should have been?
It absolutely was. It absolutely was. Absolutely.
You have a timetable, Jeff, to hire a new coach?
No, I don't have a timetable. We'll get the right guy.
Jeff, I think a lot of fans feel like, because of the losses of players, that maybe this program has taken a step back. You feel like things can be turned around quickly?
I think when I got here, people thought that. When I took the job, the state of which it was in when I got here, you had a whole recruiting class that basically bounced. You had lost the 3 best players to graduation, and so I think there was a sense of that. And again, we got in here, we rolled up our sleeves, and we fought. And that first year, we had a group of guys that got out there and we battled. Not saying that we won a lot of games, but we battled and we laid the foundation. So we've done that here, and that's something we're going to do moving forward.
Jeff, can you talk about
still toughness in the team? I mean, it looked like at times this year that there was some give-up plays here and there.
There absolutely were.
Really didn't have much.
I think one of the big things that happened to us, and this is just being very honest, I think we got one of the big things, I think our season this year was a byproduct and of success. And what I mean by that, sometimes success can make you soft. And I think that's what happened with us. And it's something I warned our team that was coming back after 2 seasons ago. I guess that's how I refer to it. Blake's last year, Taylor's senior year, Austin's senior year. And what happened was after that season, it was such a good year. We were 30-6. We got to the Elite Eight. We were in the top 10 in the country for a good part of the season. After that season was over with, there was so much positive. Everyone was patting these guys on the back, telling them how good they were, telling them how good they are. You had this highly ranked recruiting class coming in. And I think what happened, as much as I tried to warn them, I think we got caught up in success. And because of that, I don't think we worked as hard. I think some things happened in the spring and summer that led to this, that led to the kind of season we had this year. I shared with them experiences from when I was in school. I played for a national championship as a freshman, as a sophomore. We were 13-18. We were 2-14 in the conference. And I think if you look, I've looked back at that. I've looked back at that time and tried to figure out, okay, what happened to us when I was in school? Why did that happen? And a big part of it was what happened in the summer. Now, certainly, we lost a lot of guys, just like we did 2 years ago. But I think that's a big byproduct of it. And I think we weren't tough. We weren't mentally tough. We weren't physically tough. And because of that, those games that I mentioned earlier, that's why we couldn't come up with that stop, that one stop, or to get a basket, or to understand how to get fouled, or to make a foul shot. How do you get that way? Sometimes you have to go through something bad. Sometimes adversity does that to you. And there's a saying, adversity introduces a man to himself. Well, I've been through a lot of adversity in my life. For some of our guys, this is the first time they've gone through something. And it's going to make us all better. It's going to make them better. It's going to make them better men. It's going to make them better basketball players if they use it the right way. And that's one of the things that we've challenged them with. And, again, the guys that we have returning are using it the right way.
There's a perception out there that Jeff Capel might not be happy at Oklahoma, might be looking to get out. There's also a perception that does he have the full support of Joe Castiglione and the university? Address those issues. Are you happy here? Do you have full support of your?
Well, I'll tell you what. I've always been one not to get into perception, because you can't. I told one of the guys in here, when this stuff came out about, and just for the record, I was never contacted by Clemson, by Wake Forest. I was at a recruiting meal last Friday, and I started getting these texts, that I'm in Charlotte interviewing with Clemson, and I'm in Charleston's. I'm showing the kid my phone, like, can you believe this is how rumors get started? And the thing that happens is that it's printed, it's written somewhere, and then people believe it as the gospel. If I wasn't happy here, I wouldn't be here. That's the first thing. I've never done anything just for money or just because I have. That's just not how I am. That's not how I'm made up. If I didn't want to be here, I wouldn't be here. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean I'd take another job. I may get out of coaching. I just wouldn't be here if I wasn't happy. I wouldn't do that to my family. And as far as having the full support, I know I have the full support of my athletic director, of our university president, and the people that I come in contact with. Again, I can't do anything about what people perceive. There was a perception that I was hiding. I was working. I was on the road recruiting. Had guys in. That's what I've been doing. So it's, again, you don't do anything about perception. I don't read it. I don't listen to it. I don't hear it. So sometimes people have to kind of fill me in on what's being said or what the perception is, because I live under a rock sometimes. I don't know.
Perception out there is that Coach Talaferro leaving has something to do with this NCAA investigation. Is that true?
Again, like I said earlier, that's something I can't comment on.
Blake and Taylor as players, how big did you miss them in the locker room, and was that a big problem last year?
Not just those two, Austin. I don't think people did. Maybe I didn't really appreciate the magnitude of what we were losing. If you go back to 2 years ago, obviously everyone knows about Blake and what he did, but you think about the impact that Taylor had on that team. You think about the impact and the toughness that Austin Johnson displayed. That kid played for about a month and a half with a bum shoulder, which was a pretty good indication that 3 days after we lost to North Carolina, he had surgery and was out for about 3 months. So we lost a lot. And I think what happened was that we had some guys back that, you think it's going to be easy because the year before was easy, and you think it's going to be easy. And until you get smacked in the mouth, you don't realize how difficult it is to be the guy. Being the guy is a pretty big responsibility because it means you have to be that guy all the time. And that's something I think that, we didn't prepare for. Our guys didn't prepare for that. I think because they thought it was going to be a little bit easier. And again, up until we lost to VCU, everyone's telling them how good they are. When Blake was drafted, that was still Oklahoma. It's #1 pick, Blake Griffin from the University of Oklahoma. There's the buzz about the recruiting class, and you have 3 McDonald's All-Americans, and you have all of these things. And again, if you don't handle that right, that can make you soft. Sometimes with young people, it's difficult for them to understand. Sometimes when they get to school, it's the first time they've been told, you know what, you got to work harder. And they're working, but you still got to go harder. They don't understand that at times. And then, just because you've been really good in high school doesn't necessarily equate to you being really good immediately in college. It's a process. And so, I think all of those things went into how the season turned out.
You said earlier that you thought part of the problem started back last summer before the season started. Joseph Zendre is now your strength and conditioning coach, and he'll lead your summer. Are you really confident that this summer's they're going to have the temperament and the work ethic that you want going into the offseason?
I do. I see it now. Again, there's a difference now than from last April, from a year ago today. No one's telling these guys how good they are now. It's probably the exact opposite. Again, I don't know what they're hearing. I don't know if they pay attention to what's being said right now. But there's a difference right now. Last year, Yo-Yo was here also. Now he got here. He started, I think, in June. So he wasn't able to do some things with them in April and in May. But yeah, I'm very confident in that.
What players are you getting leadership from this offseason?
Cade Davis has been the big one. Then also Stephen Pledger and Andrew Fitzgerald. Those are the guys that have really stepped up. But Cade is going to be our captain, and I think he's going to do a tremendous job with it.
Where's your talent level right now with the players you have?
Well, the guys that we have here are talented. They have good talent. Now, are they pros? No. Not NBA pros, not right now. I mean, it's a senior and 2 sophomores right now, and then 3 sophomores. So it's good talent. The guys we have coming in are talented. How does it compare with anyone else? I don't know. I haven't really paid that much attention to anyone else's roster. We've had enough going on around here for me not to get into that. But, again, I like our talent level. Do we need more talent? Sure. Absolutely. We absolutely need more talent, and I think we'll get more talent.
Are you being received well in recruiting circles? Like everybody you visit, JUCO guys, high school guys, everybody still fired up about Oklahoma basketball?
Sure.
And that will be reflected, I guess, soon. In
Hope so.
signings and-
What's been the biggest misconception in your program since the season ended?
It's a tough question for me to answer because I haven't read anything. So I don't know. Again, I hear these things that, what Bob said a little bit earlier, that I'm not happy here, that I'm trying to get out. I'm looking to leave, that I don't have the support. I mean, again, if I was trying to do something, I would do it. I would leave. Again, it may mean doing something else. Maybe I go on TV. Maybe I, go into something like that. If I wasn't happy, life is not about, doing something where you're not happy. And certainly I wasn't happy this past year with how our season went. And I'm probably one of the most competitive people you meet, and I don't take losing well. But as far as the biggest misconception, I don't know. I really don't know. I try to do my job. I try to do a good job. I said after the Big 12 tournament, this is a learning experience for all of us. It's an opportunity for all of us to get better. It's an opportunity for all of us to grow. I don't think I'm a worse coach than I was when we were 30-6. Just like after that year we were 30-6, I didn't think I was a better coach than I was when we were 16-15 my first year. Every year is an opportunity to grow and get better, and that's what I'm trying to do each year, to grow and get better. Sometimes you have to go through growing pains, though, in order to get better, and that's what this season was. It was a learning experience, and I look forward to the challenge of getting us back where I know we need to be, where we've been, and getting us back there on a consistent basis.
Jeff, another topic that people talk about is some of your former players or current players, what they put out on their social media, the Twitter, Facebook. I mean, do you have to warn your players about that stuff? Do you worry about what they put out?
We talk to them about it again, and I hope that it's not just our players. It's student athletes. It's students in general. It's not just student athletes either. It's young people. This Facebook, Twitter, all of this stuff is kind of taking on a different element of its own. And it is something that we talk to our guys about. It's something that, we've tried to monitor here since our season's been over. The Facebook and Twitter stuff. It's something I know our university and our athletic department tries to monitor. But also these guys have, First Amendment rights also. You try to get them to understand how unintelligent it makes them look. But you're dealing with young people. And again, it's not just us. It's not just men's basketball or women's basketball or baseball, or it's young people in general. I mean, this is happening in high school. This is happening all over the country. You know, when I was at VCU, my last year there was a, you know, it was a major incident. There was a freshman on our campus that was murdered, who met a guy, I think it was on MySpace. So this is a problem, period. It's not just related to OU or OU athletics.
What was your thoughts when Mason Griffin announced he was leaving on Facebook?
Well, I knew about it before he announced it on Facebook. I actually knew about it a little bit before our season was over with. Again, if you go back and you listen to my interviews, I think at the Big 12 tournament, when people asked me about what has to happen next year, if you go back and you really pay attention, I never mentioned Tommy. I never mentioned Tommy as far as for next year, because I knew, you know, what was going to happen. You know, and so again, I hope it works out for him. I think he's a tremendous talent. I thought he had a good year. And again, I hope everything works out the way he wants it to.
Did you know because he'd quit going to class? Did you know because he let you know he was
He let
leaving?
me know.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you,
We have an attendance policy here, so
when
can't
when
just
you
do
have
that.
your season, this season, or would you do this every year? Would you talk to your dad? Would you talk to Coach K? Would you talk to coaching buddies? When you're having good times, bad times, just to bounce stuff off people?
Well, I talk to people, you know, in our profession all the time, different people. And certainly this year was unlike anything I've experienced as a coach. You know, it's the first time I've had a losing season as a coach. It's only the second time that I've been involved in being a part of a team where I've had a losing season. You know, and so this year was a little. I mean, it was more difficult than any of them. And I did talk to some people, but you know, again, unless they're going through it, they can give you advice and talk about what you know, give you some suggestions, but they don't know it. They're not living it with you. They're not going through it with you. They may be going through it from afar, but they're not going through it with you. And but I'm very appreciative of the resources that I'm able to call upon and speak to.
Jeff, you're obviously going to take an APR hit with so many guys leaving, but the fact that you really not overly concerned about filling out your scholarship limitation, is that the APR a big concern?
Well, one of the things that's been really good is that the previous 3 years we've had the highest APR since the APR has come out. So we put ourselves in a position that even if we take some hits, that we're going to be fine APR-wise. So, you know, again, that's something that really hadn't been talked about. But, you know, our guys in the previous 3 years have done a good job academically. They've actually done a really good job academically. So much so, again, that we've put ourselves in a position that we can survive this. But it is something that you're concerned about. It absolutely is something that you're concerned about. That we're concerned about, I should say. I don't know if you are.
You played a really good schedule last season. With the challenges with immediate season, is there a chance you'll...
Well, we played, yeah, you know, we played more games away from home than at home last year. Hindsight's 2020. That wasn't that smart because we were not good away from home. But you know, one of the things is that our schedule was pretty much done before this season was over with. And it's still a very challenging schedule next year. I mean, we're at Arkansas, we're at Arizona, we're at Maui, you know, which is an incredible field over in Maui. You know, we know we'll play someone good in the all-college. You know, people, you know, joked about our all-college opponent this year. You know, I knew how good they were, and they were pretty doggone good. So, you know, we'll play someone good there.
Jeff, are you concerned at all that not just Oklahoma fans, mainly Oklahoma fans, but they look at what happened at Kentucky with them losing most of their team. You lose a lot of your team. Are you concerned at all that fans get kind of soured on college basketball?
No, fans, look, true fans aren't. I mean, this was maybe the best NCAA tournament ever. So I don't think people are going to sour on college basketball. I know when you had the you know, when it started getting back in play, you know, kind of becoming popular, I should say, for high school kids going straight to the NBA. Garnett started it in '95 again, and then every year after that you had guys. There was some concern about that. College basketball will always be fine because when you get to that, I mean, that's why our sport is better than any other sport on the collegiate level, because of that NCAA tournament. I mean, that Final Four was amazing. This tournament was amazing. You know, the final game was incredible. And so I don't think people are going to sour. Look, it's just the way it is right now. And is it bad? Yeah, it is. But it's just the way it is, And I've always felt this way. Again, you say it about our sport. I've always felt the criticism with our sport is a little bit too harsh because I don't see people criticizing. And again, may sound cliche-ish, but you don't see people criticizing Dakota Fanning or the tennis players that don't go to college or anything like that. I mean, they're praised of how smart they are, and it's actually really interesting. Venus and Serena Williams were criticized for going to for taking classes or doing too much extracurricular stuff, and so you can't get into that. Our sport is such a great sport, such a great game. Again, we won't have a one and done next year. I'll tell you that.
Are you in favor of the 2016 NCAA tournament?
I'm in favor of whatever's best for college basketball. The purist in me says, hey, it's really good right now. It's great right now. Why mess with it? But I'm pretty sure people thought that back when the field was 32. And look at what it's turned into. And I'm in favor for whatever the people that are in control think is the best for college basketball. I'm in favor for that. Again, I think we have a great game, and our tournament this year was amazing. And I think college basketball will always be fine.
Just for the record, you're not going to stop trying to recruit McDonald's All-Americans?
We're not going to stop trying to recruit McDonald's All-Americans. Absolutely not. We'll try to recruit the best guys we can, and McDonald's All-Americans at times have been good for this program.
I want to ask you, can next year's team be competitive in the Big 12 Conference? And of course, you'll say, well, yes, we can be. But with what you think you're going to have coming back and arriving, what's reasonable? Could you go 500 in the conference? Could you? I mean,
we're in April. That doesn't start until January, so I don't really know. A lot has to happen. I mean, I could have answered that question for you last year, and I would have been wrong. So that's tough to answer right now. And again, that's someone's perception of what you think will be, of what I have no idea what we're going to be. Okay, in some ways, is that scary? Maybe. It's also exciting too. I had an idea of what I thought we could be last year. It didn't turn out right. It turned out different from what I or maybe a lot of people thought. So I've gotten out of the business of trying to predict.
Jeff, is there any reason you waited this long to have a press conference like this after the season?
I mean, we haven't had a press conference after season since I've been here. Again, I've been working. Okay, I've been out a lot recruiting. I was in Indianapolis for meetings. NCAA Ethics Committee, NABC board that I'm on for the first year. So I've been working. I've really not been really informed about kind of what's been written or what are the thoughts. I've had an idea. Enough people have told me, hey, don't pay attention to that stuff, where you kind of get an idea, okay, well, something's out there. So I didn't really see a need to be completely honest with you, but I'm glad we did it. And I hope you are too. All right, thanks.